I thought the press conference for Eubank Liam Smith was very entertaining yesterday. I did laugh at several points. Now, some people are saying that Liam Smith was triggered and that Eubank has definitely got under his skin. I don't think that Liam Smith is particularly bothered by the things Eubank Jr. has been saying. I think what bothers him is the fact that the public believe that Eubank has been getting the better of him in terms of trash talk. That's what is bothering him, in my view. But the stuff that Eubank is saying per se, in and of itself, I don't think is really getting under his skin at all. It's just the fact that the public perception, the narrative, is that Eubank's getting to him. So he really laid into Eubank. He really tried to get personal. He really tried to get deep. And I actually think that Eubank bit a little bit because when Liam Smith's getting personal, Eubank responded by getting personal. And I know you can say, well, all's fair in love and war, right? True. But the fact that he responded with something so personal shows me that he felt the need to. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it was water off a duck's back and he didn't feel the need to respond with something personal. He did feel the need to. So I think that Liam Smith got the rise out of Eubank Jr. that he wanted to get, that he was looking for. Whether or not the public will see it the way I see it remains to be seen. Because if they don't see it the way I see it, in terms of him actually managing to get under Eubank's skin a little bit, then he's going to be left frustrated again. Because I think that's what he's really doing it for, ultimately. He's doing it more for the public. He wants the public to, see him as being in control of the situation rather than Eubank Jr. being in control. So that's my take on it. Will it make any difference to the outcome of the fight? I don't think Liam Smith is really going to be affected by any of this because he is a bit more of a spiky character than Eubank Jr. generally. It's not the first time when he's had a few verbals with opponents at press conferences and what have you. With Eubank Jr., he's normally a very stoic, cold, cool, calm, and collected character. The fact that he felt the need to get personal, does that mean he's going to come out and maybe be a little bit more aggressive than normal? And he can be very, very aggressive in the ring, as we know. But will this cause him to maybe get out of his comfort zone and out of his boxing and be a bit more reckless than he needs to be because of the things that Liam Smith has said here? I'm sure Liam Smith would like that to be the case, but I don't know. We'll see whether Eubank Jr. can calm himself down. Again, he appears very calm, but I think he's good at putting on that stoic face. He is a cold character, right? I'm not saying he's the most emotional guy. He's definitely not. He's a cold kind of guy. But there is some emotion there. There are certain buttons where if you push them, he will get triggered. So it remains to be seen whether any of this is going to affect their performances. I suspect not, but you never know. Because Billy Joe Saunders, you may remember, in the run-up to his fight with Eubank Jr. did something similar. Those comments from Billy Joe Saunders, did that bother Eubank Jr. in the fight? I don't know. I think Eubank Jr. was bothered by something. Maybe it was just the pressure. And it's not just the pressure of the event, it's the expectations of his dad, I think, that used to put a lot of pressure on his back. And that was his first step up. That's the first time he faced somebody with a pulse. It was Billy Joe Saunders. So the first half of the fight, really, my way of looking at it is Eubank Jr. froze. He just froze on the occasion and under all the pressure. And it wasn't until the second half of the fight where he actually managed to snap out of that trance and get into it. And anyone who's been around boxing, if you've boxed yourself, if you've participated in any capacity in amateur boxing or pro boxing, maybe you've experienced it yourself, or if not, you've certainly seen other people go through it, where they get stage fright and they go literally into a trance where they're not throwing punches, and they've been in the gym throwing a million punches and doing everything correctly in sparring, but they get under those lights in front of a crowd and they just freeze. They can't get their shots off. And you literally feel like you want to shake them, like, wake up. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're here, you're in it. Like, don't let the moment pass you by. And personally, I've always felt that's what happened to Eubank Jr. in that Billy Joe Saunders fight. And to a lesser extent, I think it happened to him against George Groves as well. I think he froze a little bit early on against Groves. But in both those instances, he was in against superior boxers. I'm not saying that if he hadn't froze against Billy Joe Saunders that he would have won, or against George Groves, but I think it would have been closer. And maybe you could make a case he could have beat Billy Joe because that was a close fight anyway. Whereas with the George Groves fight, in the eyes of most people, that was a pretty one-sided affair in terms of rounds won. So Eubank Jr. maybe not freezing so much. It's not like he totally froze against George Groves, but he was a little bit hesitant, more hesitant than normal. And yeah, you would expect it going up against a big puncher, a bigger man, the best opponent he'd faced so far as a pro. But later on, again, just like the Billy Joe Saunders fight, yeah, George Groves slowed down a bit, but I think Eubank Jr. started warming to the task, and obviously he got cut, and he started going for it later on in the fight. But another telltale sign, or one telltale sign that I've always spoken about with regards to fighters freezing, is when they do start throwing punches. Right? When you get a frozen fighter to start throwing punches, they're usually all over the place. Wild swings and crazy haymakers, and the form that they normally produce in the gym in terms of holding their structure, their construct together and throwing the punches correctly, that all goes out the window because they're in this emotional state where they can't control their movements the way they normally would. You see, this is one of the telltale signs of a fighter freezing, is when they do start throwing punches, punches are wild and crazy. And we saw that from Eubank Jr., again, in the Billy Joe Saunders fight and in the George Groves fight. But since that time, he's had some experiences beating James DeGale, where he held it together very well. DeGale was shot to bits. That was the last fight of his career. But from a psychological perspective, maybe that helped Eubank Jr. And he fought in the United States. He's had several fights under Roy Jones Jr. So this is certainly the biggest fight in terms of profile that Eubank Jr. has had since the George Groves fight. It's bigger than the James DeGale fight. Wasn't that on ITV box office? So this is the biggest fight in terms of profile. Will Eubank Jr. be okay here? I know he fought Liam Williams and he was okay, absolutely cool as a cucumber in that one. Maybe he will be cool as a cucumber in this one as well, but you have to bear in mind that, at least in my view, the pressure of the big occasion has got to him a little bit in two previous instances. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below.